All right, yogis, let's start in tabletop position here. We're going to get right into it today. Just starting right in the cat-cow. When you're looking at some of the fundamentals here, yogis, it's hard to beat cat-cow to warm up your core, right? So I see a few of you already kind of doing this, but at your pace, I start a little bit softer, inhaling, arching my back. Remember, this is the anterior tilt. I want you to just really digest mentally the tilt of the pelvis, because that plays a huge role in how we strengthen and activate our core. In the cow pose, my tailbone goes up, back, and away, creating an arch in the back, anterior tilt, it's called. And then the cow pose, the cat pose, I drive my tailbone between my legs, creating a rounding of the lower spine, okay? Inhale, I arch my back, starting with that cat-cow, exhale, I round. Notice the chin is getting involved, tuck in on the exhale, inhale, arching. Just a few more cat-cow, please, here to get warmed up. If you want to do a little circular movements, that's always good as well. Remember, I like to suggest a few cat-cows right down the middle, very linear, forward and back, and then a few more kind of circular motions for your core. Now it's almost like my tailbone's drawing a circle. It's going up, but left, down, and right. Next kind of warm-up exercise is the down dog. A little bit more for opening the underarms, calves, hamstrings, feet. So take a few breaths in your down dog, lifting those hips up and back. Right, first down dog might be different intention than a middle class down dog. Here we might just be a little bit lighter hearted, just kind of feeling it out and moving in ways that feel good. Whereas later in class, you might really get disciplined, hold that position, refining it, being more subtly aware. But it's the first dog for most of us, so you just kind of feel it out. Shake your head a little, yes and no, just to let the head hang. Lengthen those sit bones up and back. Remember, Iyengar said that down dog is a shift from your weight in your hands to putting the weight into your feet or your heels. Okay, so think of that as you're doing this down dog. Last couple moments here, please. So remember, I call this core class. We can't do abs for an hour. So when you look up core flows and classes, like say on YouTube, it tends to be mainly abs, right? Or even obliques, which is usually an abdominal muscle. But I include a lot of lower back and like butt exercises. Obviously, hip flexors are going to be working way too much, and we got to look out for that. Particularly, in certain people's bodies that have weaker glutes and weaker abs, those hip flexors are going to want to really dominate. All right, guys, let's bring it down to the knees. Something a little classic to start. I want you to focus on the half part here. Inhale, right leg, left arm. Don't let your back arch. Pull your belly in, please. Okay. Exhale, left hand, right knee down. If it's easy, do it in plank. We'll get to plank next. Inhale. Exhale. So notice the slight pause. I pull the belly in. Inhale, I lift the leg against it. I'm pulling the belly in. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. A few more. It's very key that you're slowing down and make sure you're understanding that as you lift the leg up and back, the femur bone, which creates the hip extension, you pull your belly in against that action. So as you tighten your buttocks, your belly's pulling in with it. That's the same thing we do here, yogis, where we stand, we kind of squeeze our butt, pull our belly in. So that's going to teach us good posture. Such a great exercise. You can do this one every day. In the warm-ups, it's so good, right, for functionality. Whereas something like crunches, it's going to make your abs tighten up, but, functional, I'd say this is better, right? Even better than a plank. Even though planks are good for full body, not going to be that great for your core, right? But we're still going to do it next. All right, next exercise is the plank pose. Remember, you can do planks cold. You don't need to be really warmed up for isometric full body symmetry. So right down to the plank, like I just said, it's really not that great for your core. But it is really good for kind of turning on your full body. You want to try to engage your butt and your thighs more, okay? Don't let your hips lift too high or too low. You know, hips can be like about as high as the shoulders. Remember, in forearm plank, it's a little different. High plank, your hips are going to be slightly lower than your shoulders. You're like this long angle from your heels to your shoulders. But in forearm plank, your upper body's lower. So it's almost like your hips are as high as your shoulders. There is a slight difference there. It is subtle. You got to work on squeezing your butt in plank. That is, you know, very key for making plank very healthy. Or if you don't, I mentioned it earlier, your hip flexors are going to just constantly tighten here. And you know that a lot of people's hip flexors, it's like one of the main causes of lower back pain. So you got to be resilient in squeezing your butt. Okay. Your thighs would be good too, because that's going to help take pressure off the hip flexors, which are right above those quads. Try to pull the belly in. We're trying to go for about 1.5 minutes. You know, planks aren't like my favorite exercise, you know, especially for anyone that's getting pretty strong. I don't really do planks ever, but they're really good for beginners or people, you know, getting back into it off of an injury. It's slow, it's safe, it's still. Okay. Nice job, guys. Let's bring it down to the chest. And really, if you can hold plank for like more than like 1 minute, 2 minutes, or you should be using that time probably for something else. Okay. Slide your hands more near your lower ribs. Press your feet, pubic bone down. Lift the chest. Now we're turning on our lower back arch. Don't go too strong now, yogis. Okay, lower down. Inhale it up. Exhale it down. Same thing, I move, but I pause, right? Inhale. If I want a little more, I could lift the arms like up here or here. But I really want to pull the belly in and feel it in the lower back. Think about lifting your back up. You know, it's the same idea. A crunch is really about lifting your chest up, not curling your forehead or chest towards your knees. That's usually, you see people at the gym. I walk through the gym and I look around. And most people are kind of, you know, there's a lot of little biomechanical things we can learn and do. A crunch is safer. So if this is a back crunch, think about lifting your back straight up. You're not bringing your back necessarily toward your hips. Think about just lifting like your shoulders, head, and upper back like straight up. There could be a little bit of that, but you're not like jamming your shoulders toward your hips back. It's more like your chest is lifting up. It's the same thing when we do a crunch on our back, okay? It's not really about bringing your forehead or your chest to your knees. It's more like just lift your chest up. That's the action of the abs, okay? Now, when you're ready, lower down, take a little breather if you need. So we've already done multiple back exercises with not really much in the front, right? So just starting in a little different trend here. So if you want a little cobra now for the stretch, take your hands near your lower ribs, inhale, lift up into your cobra. Just think a little bit more like stretching the front body. Yep, some of you is doing your up dog, nice. Yep, staying down in gentle cobra is fine. So a core class where we're lengthening the front body, right? That's pretty interesting. We're gonna meet back in downward dog, please. So if you need a quick child pose, you can throw that in there. I'll skip it today, but always a good idea. All right, so we are going to do these big leg swings, and I want you to remember that posterior tilt as we go forward and bring the knee to the forehead or to the elbow. There is that posterior tilt of the pelvis. That is like the cat-cow slightly, okay? Down dog, inhale, right leg goes high. And I'm just gonna have you start moving. Exhale, we're gonna shift to plank, right knee to forehead. I know this can get repetitive in yoga, but guys, it's fantastic stuff. All right, inhale, right leg goes back and up. So shift back to three-legged dog. We're still in full body warm-up mode. Exhale, right knee to right elbow. Maybe you can bring it to the tricep or the shoulder for a little bit more of the outer hip. Okay, inhale, right leg back and up. Exhale, right knee, left elbow. Remember, you can do this in tabletop. All right, and going slower is more difficult. Inhale, back and up, all the way up, yogis. Okay, second round of those leg lifts. Exhale, right knee to forehead, and keep going. Try to do about 3 to each spot, center, right and left. I am going to give you a little rest in between. Okay, you're going to get another little kind of stretch thing. So yeah, it's this big like
shifting forward and back. You're shifting from plank and dog, and your leg is going up and back in dog, and it's coming forward in plank. And remember, I said posterior tilt's the key. That's going to take your hip flexors more out of it and activate your lower abdominals more, abdominals in general. Only if people understood pelvic tilts, they'd have way stronger cores. Okay. Now it looks like some of you are already getting done. That's okay. There's a couple of you still going.
You know, some of you don't come to class ever. We don't do this that often, this big movement here, guys, but it really is good stuff. Okay? Moving a little fast there. You got to slow down and really feel those abs. Listen, take it down to the knees. I want a little stretch before we keep going here. It's been a lot of forward and back, right? Let's rise up, bring your right foot out to the side. So my right leg's not in front of me, I'm facing the screen, right? Right toe is down, facing forward. Left arm up and over, first big side stretch here. Now, from the side, you can see, what I don't want to see is this. Okay? I also don't want to see a leaning forward. Look how I'm nice and tall, left arm up and over, side stretch. Last 2 breaths. Okay, we got one more thing here. So I'm staying in the same position. Left hand is going to go down, take it slow. Now I'm going to shift weight to my left hand, left knee, left foot. This is not easy, but we do it a lot in yoga. Right leg rises. Little bit different today, yogis. Pull the belly in. Just going to tap the foot kind of toward the floor, lift it up. It's a small movement. Few more. Getting that outer hip working now, the glute medius. Done a lot of glute maximus already.
In some realms, this little movement pulsing stuff, it's not classic yoga, but it is in Tantra Kundalini yoga, right? They pulse only in there. I mean, they do some bigger movements, but it's a really good way to fire those muscles safely. And remember that smaller movements are better for strength. All right, now let's slowly bring the right foot down, slowly bend the knee. Let's rise up. We're just going to switch sides. I do want you to do both sides before we get to our second side of knee to the forehead. Left foot out, big side stretch, please. Think of this like reverse warrior, because it is. You know, this is the back leg in warrior 2, and then you slide that hand down your back leg and you reach that arm up. So you should feel this part of your body light up here. Just don't let your butt stick out, yogis. You see it all the time in yoga. It's that same thing. I call it a stupid joke, but it's like flexion disease. People are like stuck in flexion constantly, and they don't really know it, right? So people are like this in this exercise. Hip flexors, okay? So this side is shortening, right side is lengthening. So what do we do in the second part? It's the opposite. I shorten that right side. Left side lengthens to start. Left foot hovers, and I lift it up. Don't let your butt stick out behind you. Your hips, they're not like back here. Drive those hips forward. Little lift. See how I'm not getting much movement, yogis? This is for beginners. Remember, glute medius is main hip stabilizing muscle. Right here. Okay? We know that if you can strengthen glute medius and max, you're going to take pressure off the psoas, which is usually thought to be #1 cause of back pain muscularly, okay? So that's the first real big look into our lateral body. Now we're going to go back through our down dog. If you want to chaturanga, feel free. So you just take a moment to neutralize cat-cow. That is very lateral body. Big stretch, arm, and then hip. So you take a moment here to come back to your dog. If you want to chaturanga, that's fine. Now I want you to take this slow and work. We're going to inhale our left leg up once you're back in dog. I'm a little ahead of you. Take your time. Left knee, forehead. Think about that cat-cow. It's almost like you're curling your pubic bone, your tailbone under and forward, just like the cat pose as you go forward slightly, right? Inhale the left leg up and back. It's almost like you anterior tilt. It's kind of like your cow pose. Subtle. It's not a big one, right? It's not a big pelvic tilt. And then you go left knee, left arm. You are trying to bring the leg wide and up. Okay, and you're going to drop your hips a little bit lower there. Then you inhale the left leg back and up. Feel the glute. Each time you lift that leg, hopefully there's about 9 of them. So it's a whole set or second round of those glutes stimulating the lifting the leg up and back. Okay, go ahead. Left knee to right elbow. Some of you guys are waiting for me, but go on your own, please. Come on, slow down. Better muscle contractions, better body awareness, more breath linking to movement. You can squeeze deeper and tighter if you exhale deep on that coming forward. I do want you to squeeze deep in the abdominal cavity. You know, how deep can you feel the squeezing? Yeah, and sometimes you go a little faster. Sometimes you pulse knees to arms or forehead or leg up and back. I don't want to give you too many options here, but don't be shy to change it now. This is done a lot in the Vinyasa yoga, right? And rightfully so, it's really good stuff, okay? So meet back in down dog. I just want you to take something a little subtle here, yogis. Drop down to the knees. So we need a little twist, and I want you to stretch out your ankles. No child pose as a group. So just gonna sit on my ankles for a moment, okay? Just stretch it out. Gentle twist, right hand behind, left arm outside. Try to sit up tall and twist with your core. Gaze over your right shoulder. Now listen, keep your twist to the right, just look to the left. So my chest core turning right, my head turning left. They call that like the double helix twist, kind of both rotational qualities in the spine, okay? Slowly neutralize, left hand behind, right hand outside the thigh, gaze left. Keep the twist to the left, just look to the right, over the right shoulder. Shoulders still trying to work back and down a little, chest lifting up, core rotating left, head rotating right. All right, yogis, slowly release. Swing it right around to your buttocks. Now, I asked you to have a little pillow because what we're going to do is the hyper range crunch. Now, crunches are fantastic, you know. I wouldn't say they're like my favorite abdominal exercise, but they're simple. You know, sometimes we get too many things happening, leg swinging, twisting involved, and there's too much awareness to do quality. So doing simple stuff is, what's the old saying? Keep it simple, stupid, right? Kiss. So you can't beat crunches here. They're probably like mid-upper tier for just getting those abs done well. Let's get into those abs now, all right? So I'm gonna lay back over my bolster. My feet are gonna go down. Now, the goal here is to create more of a little back bend, to get a more of a hypertension crunch. You're gonna get more abs firing. Now, I'm gonna inhale back over the bolster. Notice my hips are on the floor, okay? So we call this like a restorative pose. My hips are on the floor, my head reaches the floor, but I'm gonna push my lower back down into that bolster to create a crunch. I'm not really worried about going forward. It's more like I'm going up, okay? Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Try to go slow on the way down. Inhale, exhale. Don't go all the way down, only about 70, 80%. The sneaky part is, this is cat-cow as well, yogis, all right? I'm not having you do the posterior tilt yet. I'm having you isolate the upper body part. We can go double if you want and you know how to add posterior tilt. It's not like you're pressing through your feet to lift your hips. You are tucking your tailbone posteriorly. Like I keep trying to explain for years, if you can learn to really embody pelvic tilts and recognize all of it throughout all the yoga poses, it really changes everything, because that's the mid space between your legs and your core that control spinal position and what muscles are firing well. So just in case, if you want to see it, right, the double, you're here, I crunch, but look at the pelvic. it also lifts. So to train your lower abs, it's really important to get the pelvic tilt, right? So we're gonna do that in a moment, just in case you're not doing it here, but that's the double crunch. My posterior tilt. Inhale, anterior tilt, spinal extension. Exhale, posterior tilt, spinal flexion. And I can do a little pulse up here. Look at that. It's going to be really killer for the abs. Remember, it's not a big range of motion. Small range of motion is better for strength. Okay? You guys feel that in your abs pretty good? It's not a head bob. We're not just moving our head up and back, forward and down. Okay? Forward and back. We're really moving the chest, and if you want, the pelvis. I really like this one when I'm trying to get my abs to fire as opposed to just the regular crunch, okay? All right, listen, let's sit up here, guys, and remove that bolster. Now I'll make sure you have a block. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. Pretty much blocks every yoga class, right? Now we're gonna do that nice resisted rotation into anti-rotation exercise. Anti-rotation is super rare in yoga, okay? So knees together, block between your thighs, knees over hips, arms down. Press your lower back down, squeeze your block. You're gonna inhale, notice my knees go to the right. They don't go forward, they don't go back, they go to the side. I roll my left ribs down, I pull my belly in, I squeeze the blocks. I pause, and then I come back to center, okay? And then you're gonna bring your knees over to the left. You're gonna work on rolling your left shoulder down, pulling your belly in, squeezing your block, rolling the right ribs more down. Remember, you don't have to go very far to the side, okay? Go to where you feel a little work, pull your belly in, work on some of those body awareness. Back up. If it's easy, legs go more straight, okay? Over to the side. Hold. Back to center. Go ahead, over to the side. Second side, to left.
You know, you see these tendencies in yoga. Side plank is anti-lateral movement. And we don't really do many lateral tensions in yoga. And fitness is like a lot of the opposite. And then yoga here, keep going. Try to go at your own pace. Ideally, you can hold a little bit longer. I mentioned this idea, what's called anti-rotation. You bring your knees over to the side, your body wants to rotate more. The weight of your knees wants to bring you deep into a rotational stretch, like we do in yoga all the time, but you're not letting it. That's why it's called anti-rotation. Body wants to rotate via some resistance or pull, weight, but you don't let it. Okay, so I really like this one. It's quite unique, especially in just body training. There's no straps or no bands, no weights, okay? So it's a really good way to do something that's hard to find other places. Okay, so when you're done, take a little breather. I'm gonna bring you back to symmetry here.
So we already did a lot of the butt, so I'm gonna stick away from a bridge. Usually I would say bridge right now. Now, we are gonna do our leg swings. I wanna just make sure, yogis, that, I say if you're coming off back surgery pain, you can do it like this. But this is gonna be hip flexor dominant. You're really not gonna get that good at abs going if you just go here, right? You're gonna get some, and you have to be really resilient in pressing your lower back arch down, okay? Because if the back arches, you might hurt your back, right? But what we're gonna try to do is this, yogis. We're gonna bring our legs a little forward and down. Watch the pelvis. See, legs forward, legs up. Now I say if you want more, you lift your head. If you want a lot, you lift your arms. But it's the pelvic lift, guys. Pelvic, slow down, feel the pelvic lift. A few more.
This is another exercise. I teach it a lot, but it's another one that can be, it can just get those hip flexors tightening and hurting more. So you got to be really resilient and try to slow down and feel your abs. That's tough. How do you get people to really slow down and move their awareness from one muscle to another, or to a muscle they're not really good at firing. If I was like working with you privately, I'd probably put my hand on your abs and I'd like push into them, and I'm saying, no, this is what you're trying to contract. And I'd poke your hip flexors, and I'd say, you're trying not to use this thing so much, right? Because those muscles really, your psoas has much more potential to be strong than your abs. It's stronger, right? So it's going to want to take the load. So just notice that, guys. All right, so let's keep going here. Give your abs a break. That's 3 in a row. So let's do the side body again, right? Let's switch up the plane. Now I'm going to do the side plank here. I want to do the abduction again. We did the pulsing in the straight leg. This is called gentle side plank. Now what I don't want to see is this. You can't really see it from this angle, but my knees are in front of me. Look. Sure, my knees are in front of flexion. Same thing. Flexion. I want a nice long body, hips more forward. Okay? I don't want to see anterior tilt. So see how I'm really long through my body here. Okay? So let's get into our gentle plank here. Now I do have some options. Okay? A lot of us can handle this. A little dip in the hips, a little lift. Do you see how small this movement is? It's very small, please. If it's easy, right leg rises. Okay? And you drop the hips down, the leg down too. So it's more of a one-legged work here. It's a very small movement, last few. We did the big side stretch. We did the lateral leg lifts earlier as a warm-up. This is more weight, and it's the first side plank. You got to slow down and do smaller movements, yogis, all right? That is the key. When I work with people, everyone tends to go too fast and too big of movements. I'm telling you not to go your fullest range. If you want to build strength, the science is very clear. Very small, less range. If it's a bicep curl, the most fundamental, you don't go all the way down. If it's a pull-up, you do not go straight arm down. You go like halfway, like this. That's better for strength memory, okay? Second side, some of you are already on your second side. I want you to try to recognize what side's weaker and practice the weaker side more, please. Come on, now feel where we're targeting. I want you to remember to practice closing your eyes and feeling what we're working. So in this case, it's like obliques mainly. Those are the big side 2 layers, side abdominals. They kind of connect your abs to your lower back, kind of. It's ribs connect to your crest, which is your pelvis. So really important. If we strengthen obliques, it can help really take pressure out of the psoas as well. That should be pretty difficult, right? Your shoulder should be working pretty strong as well. Now, I want you to take your time. Some of you are still going. Looks like quite a few years are done. Take a moment on your back. Just take a moment. Bring your knees into your chest. Kind of massage your lower back out a little bit. If you want to throw in a bridge here, that's probably a good idea. We are going to do strong glutes here in the end. But just take a moment for yourself to neutralize. We just did the big, the hyper crunches. And then we did the reclining twisting, the leg swings, and then the lateral. We did all those planes of movement. It's good to take a moment to neutralize. We are going to do one more round of abs, but not yet, all right? I do want to take you up. So we're going to grab our hamstrings eventually. Happy baby plow, we're always welcome. Those are options here. Whenever you're ready, you catch up by, rocking forward and back. We're going to make our way up to seated, please. And now we are going to we're going to stand up. But if you want to take a little forward bend to start, or yogi squat. So you can come kind of right up through seated. If you're up for it, take a quick yogi squat. It's kind of like a child pose, and then forward fold, lifting your hips, taking a breath or two to stretch out those hamstrings once more.
You're kind of just feeling it out after the reclining exercise. So a lot of work around the core so far, yogis. So take extra time if you need, even when you stand, to kind of loosen up. All right, so guys, we haven't done too much like weight-bearing leg exercise. Core sits on top of the legs. We can't really overlook that. So I'm gonna do the squat Kriya today. Now, this is a tough one, but I want you to focus because we're not gonna do like that much legs up here today, all right? So I need you to dig deep and focus. This is totally safe for all levels and challenging. You're gonna bring your left hand in front of your right. So it looks like you're in plank from the side almost, right? Excuse me, left hand on top of right. I'll start demoing here. You gotta find the path of least resistance. Like, what's the most comfortable space for your feet? I do this a lot of different ways, feet parallel. I do it with my feet a little bit wide, turned out. I tend to do it a little bit more parallel because for me, I need the quad hit more, okay? Arms are gonna go forward, and remember what hand's on top. Here we go. Bend the knees up. Don't let your chest go too far forward. Look at my chest. It stays pretty up, okay? This is the exercise. Come on now. Think of your legs like pistons.
And I want you to really keep going, guys. You got to focus here. All right. I want you to think of this like a cardio moment of class. I want your heart rate. I want you to sweat. I want you to kind of feel like you have to quit and then keep going a little bit more. You know, that's one thing we lack in yoga. Ideally, you do need a little bit of weight for your legs. Speeding this up here is a good way to get a lot of muscle stimulation, so you can go fast. A lot of times we do it slow, but you know, on a good day, if you can start getting going a little bit more, up and down, a little faster, that's awesome, right? So a couple more. When I was training the soccer kids for this, you know, creates explosive movement, right? I would make the joke, you know, imagine you got $1 for every one you did and you got about a minute. And oh boy, would they speed up. So, you know, but for you guys, think about, you know, longevity. You're adding structural integrity to your body, which is really good for living longer, healthier. So think of that when you're doing this, whatever, you know, can inspire you to push. Come on, yeah, keep going. Last 20 seconds here. It's about 1.5 minutes, okay? That's the first tier. I tell a story. I've had to do multiple times. We did 2 rounds of 6 minutes, okay? You are pouring sweat, your legs, you can barely walk after, they're so inflamed. Remember, I like to say squatting every day, please. Whether it's just a squatting stretch, a movement like this, or weight bearing, whether you're doing a little one-legged test or a sagittal squat, or you're doing a wide-legged squat, I want you to try to squat every day, okay? So take a little break, neutralize that, please.
So I like to do twist after that, like this, and then if you need it, it's a little bit of this. Actually, let's try that, guys. We haven't done it like this in a while. There's a nice, what we call a frontal lean back. Now, you don't want to see this, right? And I don't want to lean my weight in my toes for this one. The key is to keep your weight in your heels. Lean back a little bit, okay? Lift your chest now up. And try to squeeze your butt and your fat, and try to lean back a little bit more, lift your chest. You're gonna feel like your lower abdominals have to tighten. It's not gonna be a super strenuous core thing, but I'm leaning back in a way, trying to keep my weight in my heels to where I really feel my lower abdomen light up, okay? This little lean back, pulling the belly in. It's very subtle.
The key is you don't want to arch your back here. You keep seeing that common thing said, probably not a good idea to arch your back unknowingly throughout a lot of these exercises, okay? All right, let's come back up here. We got one more round of squat Kriya. Dig deep. We're not doing too many crazy leg things, okay? Because I want to get you another round of abs today. Most days we've been doing 1 round. So here we go. Right hand on top. Come on, focus. You want to get stronger. You got to step into this opportunity here. Here we go. 1.5 minutes. You're on the clock. Go. Up and down. This is meant for all levels. People in their upper 90s can do this, and people who are advanced, this is difficult for. Please, faster, stay resilient. You've been on the clock. You're about 20 seconds in. Come on, focus. This is where you're getting stronger. You got to remember what you're here for. When you wake up in the morning, you got to, remember what your goals are in those moments. It's so key to set goals, but then you got to remember, okay, when the opportunity arises towards your goal, what do they say? Success is getting closer to your goals, right? It's not money. It's the ability to set goals and then keep taking steps towards them. And I know a lot of our goals to be healthier and stronger. Okay, so here it is. We got last 30 seconds. That's less than that, about 25 seconds. So finish strong. This is it. See how fast it goes when you just step into the moment. Last 15 seconds. Come on, finish strong. Rep a few last ones out. 3, 2, and 1. Nice job there, guys. Shake it out. I know how tough that can be. Hopefully you're sweating, your heart rate is building, and you shake it out a little bit here. Total different plane of movement. I'm just gonna have you hold the pose, slow down your heart rate and stretch, triangle pose. We haven't had our legs wide like this, right? Haven't done much rotation in your hips either. So this is nice, it takes care of both of those. Right leg out, right leg rotates laterally, externally. Left toes also turn in medially, and then boom, arms go wide, drop your right hip down, lengthen over, and take a nice stretch here. Right hand on the shin, engage your thighs, turn your chest open, breathe. It's important that we remember in triangle pose to press our big toe down, squeeze our legs toward each other, engage the thigh muscles. Those big muscles kind of right above your knee, you should feel those kind of almost lift up off the knee as they engage. It's pretty simple, learning the idea of always stabilizing joints in weight bearing. So pulling your belly and lengthening your left side, not just dumping weight into your spine either. Don't arch your back, lean your upper body back a little bit so your shoulders stack over the front leg, right? So you slow down, nice kind of active stretch here. This is the biggest lateral movement of class. All right, back to center, please. Not too long, got to keep it going. Left toes out, right toes turn in slightly. So that's a nice asymmetrical rotation. You wouldn't think of this as a rotational stretch, but it is. Drop your left hip down, lengthen out, and hinge. Next week in the core class, I'm going to bring back around the idea of adding some martial art type exercises into this class. It's really good stuff. And martial arts are similar to yoga, the discipline, the body awareness, the breath. So I'm going to bring that back around, do some kind of like a little bit faster, some punching style, some kicking style exercises, a lot of core, a lot of coordination and balance. So it's going to be really a good one. Okay, so we got 2 more standing exercises, that's it. The one is the one-legged hinge. We call it Warrior 3 in yoga. We move so much in squat. I want you to kind of be still here. But I think we've been moving in this as of recent, right? So nice static posture, holding that hinge. Think balance. So hands can go on your hips. If you want a little bit more, you could do hands behind the head. You could do arms forward. You could also do arms behind you for a little extra. How about we do left foot down first today? You're just going to hinge, which means right leg stays in line with your spine, left knee bends. You bring your chest down as your right leg goes up. And we're just going to work on holding it now. Don't let your upper body round. So we are trying to pull the belly and almost lift the chest kind of up and forward slightly. And then what are the shoulders doing? Can you roll your shoulders back and down a little bit? Can you lengthen through your neck a little bit? What about that back leg? Can it lift a little higher? Can the knees straighten? Can the toes point? and then the key is with isometric exercises is the longer you hold, the more you're signaling strength. So really strength signaling is happening in the reverse RNA when you want to leave the pose. So if you leave quickly every time it gets difficult, the growth will be slow. All right. The basically the more you can withstand extreme difficulty, the faster you're going to get strong. Okay. You get really a lot of gains in that particular muscular tension and group. Okay. Nice job. Looks like a few years are done there. A couple years still going, but we're just going to stand up and shake it out, basically side to side, just like our triangle. This is our coronal hinge. And we did our sagittal. Right, this is our sagittal hinge. Mixing it up. Who cares? Second side. All these fancy labels. Doesn't really matter, but it's good to know your 3 planes of movement. Just say forward and back, side to side, and rotational, and think about kind of balancing those out. Front and back being a little bit more of the basic warm up, fundamental, and rotational and lateral being a little bit more complex and probably good to be warmed up for. Hold that warrior 3, yogis. Okay, right leg should be down on most of us. Don't let the hip lift up and open. We don't really need to do that because we just did triangle. We did the side plank earlier. We did the lateral leg lifts. So we pretty much covered everything there, okay? You can't really train your side bodies as much as your front and back. An excellent athlete could, but it's very likely to cause a lot of restriction, back tightness. Your QL can light up, your psoas can light up. The lateral body you gotta be a little extra cautious with. One of my favorite lateral bodies, since we're just talking about it, we don't ever get to do it in this darn class. And there's a lot of things I wish we could do in here that we can't. So take a little break when you're done. And let me just show you quick, guys. So this is a 20-pound jug of water when it's full, right? One of my favorite, this anti-lateral flexion, one of my favorite core trainers that we don't really get to do is you hold a weight. Now, I usually do this with like 45. It's like a plate, and you have to go as slow as possible, and you're pulling your belly in. Now, and this is wanting to lengthen the anti-lateral flexion, right? I'm not doing this, right? This is an okay exercise, I would say, right? But this is better just to like walk with weight. One of the best times to do this is in the grocery store. If you're not getting too many things, you hold a basket. But look at me, it's gonna look weird in the grocery store, but you're going like this. It's a killer trainer for all this. It's so much more functional too, because that's when side body strength is needed. I like to say side plank will make you strong really fast, but the more weight you can hold here and walk, and look at, nothing is deviating, nothing's going here and here, okay? I'm walking like that. That's one that I just wanted to mention quick that's been on my mind that I don't get to do with you guys that much. We got one more final exercise here, and it is the fast twitch twisting. I want you to focus here. Now, I don't teach this one. What's this one called? Like the Russian twist. I think most people do this very wrong. It's actually pretty good, right? If you drive your elbows back, can it cause back pain pretty quick? Yeah. I also don't teach the bicycle that much. It's not my favorite. So this is it, yogis. We keep that spine long and we drive into the twist. It looks like this. I intertwine my fingers. It's like a C-clamp, they call it. You see that? Right palm forward. It is about the twist here. I want you to kind of drive your elbows almost back around. Notice my inhale goes to one side, my exhale goes to the other side. I want you to twist your core a lot more than you normally do, okay? You got to pull your belly in. You don't want to arch your back. You got to relax your shoulders a little bit, okay? We're not going to do it a minute and a half. It's just about, 45 seconds because you have to do it the opposite direction as well. When I see most people doing the Russian twist I just showed, most people are just wasting their time because you could do so many other things with that time and get way more results because they're just not doing it well, right? Doing stuff well, quality contractions will speed up your growth process. there's a reason I can do a lot of the strong things that a lot of yogis can't. It's just because I'm understanding how the musculature works. It's quality muscular contractions, not just do it. Okay. Now take a little break and straighten your legs. Remember we did squats. This is static squat. So knees are really wide, knees are bent, feet are turned out. Now my left hand goes in front. Now I was inhaling left, exhaling right. So now I'm going to inhale right, exhale left. One more round, final standing exercise. Come on, close your eyes if you can. Pull your belly in, feel your core. That's the repetition, the more firing. And it's called fast twitch. All right, so we're trying to move a little faster. People always, I've had a lot of yoga teachers, they want to do like the big stuff and all the advanced stuff. And they're saying, what can I do? I say, you have to go to college for kinesiology, biomechanics, myology. That's what I tell them. I don't say go do a spiritual yoga training, even though that's what probably most of them should do. But if they want to really get strong, you have to go to college for it. The yoga anatomy stuff is just not up to par, really. And what I try to describe is I just know more about the musculoskeletal body. That's all it is. I'm not talented. I don't work harder than any other people. I just kind of apply more intelligence to it, more systematic intention. All right. So when you're done, it looks like some of you are done there. That could be pretty tough exercise. Remember, it's the idea of this one, driving the elbow back. So the elbow driving back is the twisting, okay? So that's the same thing in the Russian twist if you like that exercise, but there's tension in the abs more, so more likely to hurt your back. All right, let's bring it down. Remember, I don't do that much arms in here and inversions. You gotta add that in if you want. Inhale, reach your arms high at the front of your mat. Let's take a sun salutation. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. High plank to low plank. If you want to add one quick round of push-ups. Push-ups are a fantastic way to train your arms. Again, if you can do a ton of them, maybe adding other things might be better for your time, but really good for most people for arm, upper body training. All right, yogis, so you're not doing many chaturangas today. Let's swing it around and come to our seated position. All the stuff we did was smaller movements on the back. We did do the full crunch today and the leg swing. But to close it out, this is a system that's common in the exercise science, is the sit-up follows the crunch, okay? Sit-up is usually more functional, but more risky for your back, all right? If you can't do a sit-up, doing another round of crunches or leg swings can work, but this is kind of like both together. So we're here. You're gonna inhale, I gotta round my spine, lower back down. Do my shoulders tap? No. Exhale, back up. Inhale, exhale, okay? So in yoga, it's called high boat to low boat, the boat transitions. You're working on laying down on your back, lower back, and then you're working on sitting back up with minimal momentum, more muscular control. Remember, I have shown the idea of doing lolasana, where you inhale to low boat, you could take an extra breath and kind of reach your arms up and even back. So you're in low boat and then you reach back. And then you bring your arms forward and then you slowly sit up. That's the next krama or little addition. And then the full one is where you add another part. So I guess I'll show you quick. So we're working our sit-ups, yogis. You could hook your feet under your couch if you have it. My actual favorite is this instead. The reason being, it'll take your hip flexors out of it. Is if this was, say, let's just say this was like a metal bar and I'm pulling my heels into the bar, instead of hooking my toes underneath something, hip flexors, I pull my heels into something, which turns my hip flexors off because it engages my hamstrings more. So let me get back to it. This is first level. This is more second level.
Third level is to add the lift, which is blocks outside. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, an extra breath down here to reach the arms. So I'm adding more different ways to stimulate the body in a sequence.
So the first few ab exercises, we were doing like one thing. And it's almost like you're putting multiple exercises together here in the end. All right. So it's like one way to stimulate your abs, another different tension way to stimulate your abs, a big compression of the abdominals, and then asymmetric lift where you are working posterior tilt in the hip lift. All right. It looks like most of these are done, but that's how you get better, guys. You know, you got to train till failure, then you got to try again. All right. So that's pretty good there. If you want any little, I see somebody who's doing some little crunch of pulses. That's a good way to finish it up. I'm going to leave it there today for the abs. So if you need a little bit extra, go ahead. And I do want to do one more butt exercise. We did a little bit earlier, but nothing with weight. Our squats hit our quads more. Unless you were squatting hips below knees, you did not get your butt. That's why I try to encourage people to start squatting deeper. There's a lot of mixed opinions on that. I squat deep all the time. The lower you squat, the more butt is going to fire. The higher you're squatting, it's more quadriceps, the front of your thighs. Okay. So let's make our way up to tabletop. Now, final strenuous exercise. We didn't do locust today, right? So we got to do that strong back body. Wheel pose could work here. Bridge pose is enough if this is going to be fine.
So this is our last big one, guys. I want you to focus. Outer hips are done. So let me just show you quick. You're here, tap, up, tap, drive through your butt. Easier, here. Okay? So let's pick a leg. Sorry, I have to use the restroom quick, drank too much water.
I want you to focus. I want you to try to do 2 sets, not one per leg. I want you to take a break in between and focus on your weaker leg. Do not let your back arch. Your pubic bone has to come forward up. This is one of the most important exercises for the posterior pelvic tilt because we're trying for glute maximus. In some circles, it's called your main pelvic stabilizer. That's key. Okay, it's all about pelvic stability. If your pelvis just flops around, you're asking for herniations, bulging discs, stenosis, spinal conditions. So you got to work here, okay? I'm going to run to the restroom. Be right back.
I want 2 sets for each leg. If it's all too much, regular bridge is fine.
So this exercise, it's the reversed hip, it's the one-legged reverse table hip thrust. It should make you sweat after like 10 reps. It's really strenuous. But remember, it's number one on if you can't pistol squat, so range pistol squat, which is a one-legged squat, keeping your heel down, butt toward your heel, which a majority of people cannot do and shouldn't really. This is your second best bet. If you want to get your butt strong, you do this twice a week, if you can 3 times a week, your butt will tighten up and be really strong very quickly. Okay, so don't forget this one. It's very powerful. All right, we should do a stretch. I think we're getting low on time here, guys. Okay, everyone feel it in their butt. Everyone wave your hand at me if you feel it. Did one butt stronger? Did one butt fire better? my left butt doesn't fire as good as my right. So I try to give a little extra love. I tend to start on the left too because of that tendency. And it's almost funny. It's like my right lower butt will fire better. So I got to work that posterior tilt on that left, especially. That's how you're going to fire that lower butt more. Okay. And that's going to get you that thud. It's where the lower butt like curls under, in case, that interests you. So I think we should do a hip stretch. How about you pick one, Virasana, pigeon, Gomukhasana, thread the needle, we already did triangle. You don't really need to go straddle, but in case you want to do a little extra hamstrings, let's pick a hip stretch. We got all regulars in here. I'm not going to tell you exactly which one. How about you do one that you don't do as much of? If there's hundreds of hip stretches, and if you always do the same old one, you gotta watch that, guys. My most intimidating hip stretch for me personally is full splits, because you're going to get hip flexor, you're going to get hamstrings, you're going to get hip glutes. It's when my teacher used to say, do the one you don't like, they would be full splits for me. I told you that story, right? I was younger in my yoga journey, and one of my teachers, a really older gentleman, he said, hey, I was pretty strong, and this was before my anatomy training, and he said, write down your favorite yoga poses and put them on here, and write down the poses you don't like. And he just crumbled up the pot. To make a long story short, he crumbled up the ones I like, and he said, we just threw it out, and he said, okay, here's your practice. Practice all the poses you don't like. That's where you'll find yourself and change. So let's do our second side, please. You're just thinking release now, yogis. We did pretty strenuous class, okay? I mixed in a few stretches here and there, but not much today. I think a little bit more meditation, a little bit more breath work. I'd say we were pretty well rounded on the leg strengthening. Quads was the more, a little bit in Warrior 3, but mainly in the squat Kriya. Our adductors when we were squeezing the block and our twisting stuff. Abduction, the hips, the outer hips was the side plank, the lateral leg lift. The glutes was obvious there in the end, and the leg lifts in the beginning. The 2 straight legs and then the 1 bent knee. That's important to remember. Bent knee stimulates very different than straight leg. It's good to do both. So we're pretty good on the hips today. Abs was pretty well rounded as well. Maybe lacking a tiny bit of lower back strengthening. That is an area we do have to show extra caution to for sure. Glutes, we can just hammer down. Abs, we can go crazy. But again, lower back and like sides, can be a little extra cautious there on the average person, right? So we got time for one last little opener. If you want to do a seated spinal twist, we did one in the beginning, but a more aggressive approach. Or if you want to lay on your back and do a spinal twist, we only did the moving one earlier. I'm more thinking like one hip stretch, one, like say, torso release. You could do plow, you could do laying on a block. It doesn't have to be a twist, but something for your hips to kind of release, and then something for like your lower back, abs, and spine to release. It's kind of a general thing we do in yoga. Rightfully so. Pretty smart approach in the end here. You're still slowing down. So just to be clear, it is 10 o'clock, yogis. I'm just going to have you do this, and then we'll take a short meditation to end, okay? So it looks like some of you, yeah, and some of you want to do an inversion, put your legs up the wall. That's great too, right? Especially after squat Kriya day. So when you're ready, yogis, I want you to start getting comfortable. And I want you to pick some days to, if you're feeling like you're relaxed today, maybe you do a seated meditation. But if there's any like back pain, maybe not. But, you might get a good idea to pick a day or two a month to do a seated meditation. In a sense, if you're getting good at Shavasana, why not challenge your ability to calm in a little bit more difficult position? Okay. Obviously, we don't want physical stimulation here, but we want to kind of very centered and on our most centered, calm, meditative self. All right. So get nice and comfortable after your last little pose, one or two is still going. And I just want you to just let your mind, body, breath rest. They say in Shavasana, no moving, no breathing, no thinking. You work towards it. First is calming your body. It's going to help your breath calm. Then your body and your breath are going to calm. It's going to help your mind calm. All right. So take your time. For you is still exercising, but I'm going to get you into Shavasana here. Just going to give you about good 3 minutes or so. Close your eyes. Let your bones get heavy. Just melt into the floor.